because Florian admirably is not on Instagram yet. So, I see people are joining in from around the world. So, Florian, we're gonna have to do this in like several languages.
Wonderful, I'm ready.
You're always ready. You are always ready. Good morning again. Good afternoon. I'll recap. We're here with Florian. This morning, we're starting the series, Lucia's Fit Vegan Lifestyle. I'm here with Florian. I'm going to flip the camera around because he is admirably not yet on Instagram. So we're broadcasting this on several platforms across Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle. So let me flip the camera around. That way you can see Florian as well. You'll see the background of my studio set up here. So remember, we have some topics that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to reveal a health challenge that for the first time publicly, and we're going to answer some questions. So there's a question button there. We'll try to get to your questions if you have any for us, but I hope that you will learn a lot about what I've experienced in these past 6 months. Sorry, let me just make sure everything's technically okay here. The past 6 months since starting working with Florian, it's been amazing. So we're hoping this will inspire you to join and be healthy, fit vegans. Let me flip around so you can say hello to Florian. How do I flip the camera now? Okay, there we go. Without you guys seeing, there we go. So you can see a little bit of my setup, my lighting, and my laptop, and you can see Florian. So Florian, hello.
Hello, good to see you. By the way, I'm just seeing Lucia there. Anyway, I hope they're also hearing the sound there. And I'm sorry, I'm not on Instagram. The reason I'm not on Instagram, we can talk about this today as well, because I have horrible self-control. Whenever I try to download the Instagram app, I watch those shorts or those reels for like hours at a time, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So it's one of the reasons I'm not too much on social media.
Wait, now I'm curious, Florian, what was it that you were watching that you needed to tear yourself away from?
I mean, it is random stuff, right? It is legal, good stuff, but it's usually related to fitness. Then and I'm a bit of an engineering geek. My father was and is an engineer. I like martial arts as well, so it's usually a combination of those few bits. Wow. And afterwards, I feel like, these few hours went down the drain. So I much prefer kind of being on the kind of social media platforms that I quote unquote have to be. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. I love that so much. I was just telling you before we started live that I love social media for the connection it gives us, but I really, really want to sit and read a book. I used to read so much, and now I'm like, mainly for these purposes to help people go vegan. I'm on as many platforms as I can, but yeah, it's nice to have IRL, as they say, in real life. So, all right, shall we get started and talk about what we're here to talk about?
Ready to rock and roll.
Right.
Ready to rock and roll.
So let's start. Let's start with you, because you've been doing this nutrition, dietitian, and fitness coach for about 7 years now.
Yeah, that's kind of a very good segue, or the quick background about me, because I think a lot of your folks are on the call that might have seen me before or might have not, right? So my name is Florian. I'm an ethical vegan for 7 years. So first and foremost, it's important to keep top of mind that I didn't go into kind of vegan fitness coaching because I thought like, oh, it's a nice niche to go in, right? So I went vegan for the animals at first. Not sure if I'm still on there.
You are. Sorry, just focus on you and the technical. Sorry, I'm going to leave it.
All right, all good. As long as it works, it's fine for me. So went vegan after reading the book Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer. So not immediately went vegan after that, but that was the first book at that time that truly opened my eyes to the cruelties of animal farming. And I was a heavy meat eater at the time, so it took me a few weeks to kind of first turn vegetarian, then vegan afterwards. When I turned vegan, I knew that it would not destroy my health, but I almost kind of like, took it as a given that it would certainly not improve my health. right? It was like, okay, I need to do this for the animals. I've researched a little bit so it doesn't kill me while going vegan. But I was also kind of thinking, hey, it probably will not kind of be as good as the performances afterwards. But a kind of few months after going vegan was the first time I ever saw a six pack. That's an interesting backstory there as well. So it turned out kind of also increased my reading frenzy, increased my kind of knowledge, or increased my desire for knowledge, because the first time kind of when I read that book about eating animals, so kind of my girlfriend at that time forced it upon me to read it. Funny backstory. It was one of the first books that I ever read cover to cover. Right? I was smart in school, but I just read through summaries. But after that book, I was like, okay, what else is there to know? And kind of after becoming vegan, kind of the reading frenzy started. I learned more about health and fitness, how to make it work for veganism as well, and in turn got in wonderful shape. So that was 7 years ago. In that time, kind of I founded fitvegans.com. Kind of we're helping 300 plus vegans from 24 countries get in wonderful shape quickly and sustainably. Before that, I've worked as a manager of 5 fitness centers with 10,000 members, where I supervised 40 trainers in the heart of Switzerland. But 4 years ago, made the jump full time into coaching. That is the backstory there.
We're so great. We're so lucky to have you. I swear, Florian, I can't get down the street without having compliments. I live in a neighborhood that's very neighborly, right? So even when I go out for my power walk, or even when I go out for grocery shopping, I talk to the people that work in my grocery store, because I'm always talking about what I'm eating and what I'm cooking, what I'm making on the TV show. And then people reveal that they're trying to go vegetarian, or they're trying to be healthy, or they don't understand, eating animals. And I'm like, well, let's do it, do it. So I've been getting so many compliments, really, really great. But we'll get to that in a minute. We want to also intro how we started working together and why I finally started working with you. So this is going to be a little bit emotional to me, because as we said, I'm revealing a health issue publicly for the first time that only really very few people know, family and some colleagues. So I'll start. I went vegetarian when I was 12, and I went vegan in 1996. So the interesting thing is that I grew up, let's say, with a very healthy diet. My parents were rural farmers in Italy. So even when they came to New York, they were growing their own vegetables and fruits in their garden in New York. My grandfather had this tremendous, I like a Garden of Eden of fruits and vegetables. It was a magical place as a child, even now, to go back and visit. So health was always, healthy food was always a focus, even though my parents were not vegan. When I decided to go vegetarian and then vegan, my entire family really, was there to support. They enthusiastically modified all the recipes and created new ones. So I've been very lucky in that way. And one thing that, I realized when we started working together is that, I know things as a vegan, but there's a difference between knowing things as a vegan, as an ethical vegan, and just as a vegan who's considered healthy, and then learning things as a truly healthy vegan. And this is something huge that you've been teaching me to understand and to kind of learn and relearn, because I'm creating new habits, even habits that are healthy. We're shifting so that I can be even healthier. I don't know if you want to respond to that.
I agree. And kind of think there's a huge difference between kind of being a vegan I wouldn't say there's a few kind of ways I could talk about that question. But I see veganism as a bicycle, right? There's this study that Steve Jobs used to quote all the time. And that is, if you look at the kind of economy, kind of energy economy of different species, when they walk from a place from A to B, humans coming quite awful, right? The energy economy of humans is very, very bad. And there's another animal, which I forgot the name of that animal in the heat of the moment. But essentially, they also the researchers also tested how would humans perform when using a bicycle. And it turns out that when humans the tool that they're using, which is the bicycle, on the energy efficiency, it's the top of the list. The humans are the most energy efficient animal if they use a tool, which is a bicycle. So if you that's why I see veganism as a bicycle, because if you know how to use the tool correctly, it will improve your life significantly. But if you don't know how to use the tool correctly, you will fall flat on your face. Right? It's a tool that is there to be used. And I think too many people start being vegan, which I think is a wonderful choice. And I did the same thing as well. But I probably didn't do as much research beforehand about my personal health as I probably should have. Right. And then I tried to almost try to find the parachute as I was falling down this cliff to see okay, Cliff, how can we survive this? Now, it's not as extreme as that. Veganism will likely not kill you if you get the basics there. Right, but it's still something that you have to look at. You have to get this dialed in. You have to find help from someone who really can tell you, hey, look, this is what you need to do for your vegan health, and this is what you need to do for the performance. Because there's also a difference between these two things. Right, you can be a healthy vegan, but you cannot have a six-pack. You cannot be in the perfect shape that you could have been in. You cannot have the performance metrics that you want to have. So there's a huge difference between those two things as well.
Yeah, I love it. And I love it because I'm seeing this in practice and in results with me. So let's tell everybody why I started working with you. So we'd been connected for a bit. We were connected on LinkedIn. And I always had, when you introduced yourself, I was like, I liked your approach and your attitude. I could tell that you had a lovely character. And what I like about working with you is that you're very scientific, very optimistic, and you're gentle. While you know what you're doing, but you have this beautiful gentility. It's not the well, let's get in shape. It's this beautiful, just gentle, optimistic, and the scientific aspect of it. I love that. So we'd been connected for a while, and I was like, all right, soon I'll get in touch with him. Soon I'll get in touch with him. And what happened was during the pandemic, and maybe even a little bit earlier before that, I was exercising, and I know you're going to speak to this too. I wasn't eating my healthiest, and I'm considered a healthy vegan. So I can't wait for people to hear from you about this. So I wasn't eating my healthiest, or the healthiest that one can, right? And I got fat. This is not, I love myself. I love my body in any shape. I never shame myself or anyone. But for me, I like to be fit and toned. I feel better. I perform better. I'm just, I'm better in my own skin. I'm better on camera, which is very important to me. So I got fat, and I never told you this, but I think this will be funny for people, kind of funny for people who are watching. I was on my way to a meeting one day on the subway here. I'm in New York, and I split my skirt. I got so fat. I was wearing, one of those pencil skirts. It split, but luckily it split right down the back. It was winter, so I had an overcoat. And I was like, Lucia, you cannot, this is it. You have to, this is unacceptable. You've got to get your butt in shape. But still, it took some time. So, I was doing my thing. And then here's the reveal, everybody. I got cancer. So, oh God. So I was just taking that in stride, doing what I needed to do. Even then, I wasn't the healthiest, because I got lucky with my cancer diagnosis, right? I got breast cancer. It was a very small lump. All the team that cared for me was very fast about it all. But of course, approaching this as a vegan was very important for me in all aspects. I mean, aspects that people don't think about, excuse me for revealing this if it's too private, but what bra am I going to wear, right? That's made of non-animal materials, that is comfortable for my breast to not, be in pain for months, right? After I didn't have to have chemo, which I was very lucky, but I had radiation for 6 weeks, and I got COVID in the middle of my radiation treatment, which is dangerous for both health aspects. One, getting COVID even without cancer or cancer treatment or cancer recovery. And then you're not supposed to interrupt cancer treatment. So I was trying just to, take it in stride, and, but that, even if you try to take things in stride, it takes its toll on your mental, right? Your mental health, which can affect your physical. So once I was done with the radiation treatment, that's when I was like, I need to talk to Florian and see if his program will work for me, because I do not want cancer to come back. I want to be I want to look badass. I want to look insane, not only for my age, right? But I really want to look, I want till I'm 90 to be one of those people that they're like, oh my God, she looks 30 years younger, right? I want to look amazing. I want to have a full life where I'm fit and just living my life to the fullest. And now with this challenge, right, this health challenge, I want to be as healthy as I can so that cancer doesn't come back. So that's what led me to you.
It's such a powerful story, Lucia. I was kind of let in on that story before we started working together. I think it's important to note that I'm not a specialist in cancer, but I've read kind of racially through the research when it comes to cancer. And also, again, there's a difference between performance. You can lose a significant amount of weight, you can start looking good, but your internal health can decline. And there's the health aspect, meaning that your internal health can actually be good, but you're not looking as fit as you could be. Right. So in Lucia's situation, that's why we have a very individualized approach. It was a key thing that we not only optimize the external health, but we also optimize the internal health along the way. And I can't imagine how it feels like to have this significant health scare, kind of when the doctor tells you, hey, look, this is kind of what you have right now, and this is what we need to do right now. So it's kind of like just a C word in itself. But when you hear that from a doctor, it's like, oh. Mm-hmm. All right, I didn't want to hear that, right? So I'm sorry to hear that you've gone through all of this, Lucia, but I'm very kind of, what I like about all of this is that you use kind of that scare or that quote unquote trauma and use it for a positive thing. You saw it as energy. You're like, okay, look, here's what is kind of like fuel so I can achieve the health and fitness goals that I set out for myself, right? So I think which most people, or a lot of people, unfortunately, they might get the diagnosis. They might say, hey, look, everything is lost, or I kind of like feel paralyzed. But what you did, kind of seen that as energy, seen it as fuel, and channeled it through a better you, right? So congrats on doing that. Well done.
Thank you. The way I see this, I have one life, right? So daily you make these choices, right? I even like, going off a little bit on a tangent, I have, people get, let's say, concerned when they feel depressed. And there is clinical depression, but there are times when you're working so hard, even as someone who's generally optimistic. There are days where I'm like, I'm so depressed, I'm never going to get out of bed again. And I'm like, no, you'll be depressed today, and then tomorrow maybe you need 2 days of rest. But you know that this is not something permanent for you, right? I'm lucky in that way. So I'm like, all right, just be depressed today, just rest. We're so pressured in our society too to always be happy, and especially with social media now, which if people are tuning in now, you see on Instagram, you see that the screen is turned to my laptop because Florian healthily is not on all the social media things that the most of us are on. So there's this pressure to be up and have this great luxurious lifestyle and whatever. And part of the reason why I created Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle, which started out as an Instagram platform and then developed to a TV show and now on various platforms, is to hopefully help people go vegan and stay vegan. And now I wanted to share what the results that we've had so that people can, I always say, live your best vegan life, right? So people can come and talk to you and get on board to live their best vegan life. In case anyone's tuning in now, we haven't announced yet that in the link in my bio, and I'll add it to the other social media descriptions. If you're on Instagram, the link in my bio has the link to a free consultation with Florian. So you can either click there now if you want, or you can, when we're done, you can go to that link and schedule with Florian. And he does a lovely, very considerate first free consultation. And you can sign up and join and just feel your best and be your best. So do that. So should we talk about the results? So I'll share a little bit. One of the things that fascinated me the most is that I mentioned before that I got so fat, right? Just got fat. And so we'll tell everybody I lost, I think, 15 pounds, right, so far with you. And I'm getting all incredible compliments. Friends, I posted the other day, I posted the little promo video to tell people to join us on Sundays. And I got a text message, "You look 20 years younger." I was like, and this is from a person who saw me, I think, in person in June. So, I'm getting great compliments. I got so fat. I don't know if you guys can see, but I had so much fat under my arms. And I was like, whose body is this? Because I've always, as a kid, I was playing sports and training in dance all through my, university years. I've always considered myself somewhat fit. My shoulders were getting, very kind of weak and like, undefined. And I can't stop. I walk around privately. I walk around my apartment, like just touching my body because it's like a new, let me just show people. I'm not going to get naked, but I'm just like so trim. I can see my ribs now. I've lost all of this fat under here. You see the muscles? I keep doing this to people because I'm so excited that I'm getting toned. And it's fascinating to me. It's like, I used to joke a few years ago that, with aging, right, we do all this anti-aging, and then especially in general, all of us, right, and mainly women are so pressured, with ageism to be young and look young and all this complicated stuff. So I was joking a couple of years ago that I just want to twist off this head and get a younger one. So having this body, right, that's getting healthier and healthier, great results at my oncologist when I go for my blood tests. Everything is healthy, all great results. But then having this kind of new body, it's like I keep walking around my house. My skin, I already get compliments that I have incredibly soft skin because I drink so much water and I exfoliate. But Florian, even since working with you, my skin is insanely even softer. So all of these things, I'm going to stop talking because I want you to talk about. All of these great benefits, right, to taking our veganism to this next level.
By the way, congrats to all of this. And I think it's hard for me to explain those benefits as good as you kind of describe it without bragging, all right, without coming across like a braggart. But look, I think the benefits that you experience speak for themselves. I think one common theme that I heard there before is generally there's this Warren Buffett documentary, right, where in the beginning of the documentary, he outlines, he gives a talk or a speech in front of a class of young students. Mm-hmm. And he says, like, let's imagine you could only pick one vehicle for the rest of your life, one car for the rest of your life. Which one would you pick? And okay, this one. Now let's imagine you can never, ever exchange that car. How would you treat that car? Right? Would you go to a mechanic early if you're worried? Would you check the oil regularly? Would you check the water regularly? Would you make sure that the car has good fuel, preferably an electric car? Right? You would. So why don't we apply the same principles to our body? Mm-hmm. Because we only have one. We have the one vehicle that we use kind of to experience life, right? So generally, that in itself should probably kind of make you ponder and think like, hey, you look, my body is quite important. The body kind of, this sounds cheesy, but it's the one asset you have, right? And many millionaires that have a sick body can attest to that. The kind of the wealth that you have is a nice benefit when you're sick, because it gives you kind of preferential health care, but it's still nothing in comparison to having a body that feels healthy and feels fit, right? If you don't have a good body, you really have nothing else. So you want to make sure that the health is dialed in. There's many other kind of incredibly nice benefits for being in shape. That is not only kind of for your career. There's this interesting kind of book or the study, or which Robert Cialdini quotes, by Daniel Hamermesh, which is the leading scientist when it comes to beauty. And beauty is unfortunately very heavily influenced by your physical condition as well, which is also good news because it's something that you have in your control. Right? We can talk about this there a bit later. But he differentiates that kind of good-looking individuals versus not so good-looking individuals. Good-looking individuals make $230,000 more over their entire lifetime, right? So it's a career benefit. And everyone kind of knows this to some degree, but it's politically incorrect. That's why people don't usually like to talk about these things.
Yeah.
So kind of career benefit, meaning especially if you're an ambitious individual, and kind of sales trainers back to Zig Ziglar, so like 50 years ago, they kind of mentioned this over and over again. If you're ambitious and if you want to be the best that you can be with your career, you absolutely have to have a physical body that allows you to do that. It's the fundament for everything. Second benefit, which is wonderful, which is kind of usually what I see is the elephant in the room with a lot of the clients that I work with, and also was kind of, to be frank, for me, is usually dating, right? One of the ends of, or kind of one of the key motivators for us humans is to kind of get a cool relationship, keep a cool relationship, and then build a family afterwards. And a lot of the kind of awesome vegans that come to me, it's usually kind of finding a high quality partner that they can spend their life with, keeping that high quality partner and building a wonderful family, meaning being a wonderful role model for their kids. So dating, it's night and day, right? If you get in shape, and this is again politically incorrect, but if you don't know a dating app, because a lot of the dating nowadays is online, it's frankly night and day, right? Again, very politically incorrect, but you need to know that, because one of the first questions that you need to answer yourself, or everyone kind of is pondering before they get in shape, is like, is it actually worth it? And most people kind of like, I'm not really sure, because the benefits are rarely even talked about, because there's seldom a podcast like this of a guy that kind of spills the beans, so to speak, and say like, hey, it's actually one of the best decisions I've ever made. The third benefit, next to the kind of career, dating, is obviously for your health. That is usually kind of, most people tend to make decisions more kind of for vanity's sake, which is, by the way, absolutely okay. But your health is crucially important. Again, it's kind of what we talked about before. And I think the last thing that I would add there, which is for the veganism sake, is that I'm a strong believer that fit vegans stay vegans. I've never ever heard of an ex-vegan claiming or quitting veganism because they felt too good. Right? It doesn't exist. Ex-vegans usually twist themselves into pretzels, trying to explain their behaviors, but most kind of reasons can be boiled down to the fact or the reality that they thought it would be to their or their own offspring's detriment if they wouldn't quit vegans. John Venus, for example, and I don't want to kind of, John seems to be a cool guy, but for example, he quit veganism because he thought it would be detrimental to his offspring. Timothy Sheaf quit veganism because he didn't have the performance increases which he thought he would have, right? So fit vegans stay vegans, and even more so for most non-vegans. Now, for most vegans, it's kind of they're vegans for the animals, right? But for most non-vegans, when you tell them that you're vegan, the first thing that they do is they look at you. They scan you from top to down, up again, and ask themselves, should they even listen to you in the first place? So yeah, to you it's all about it's all about the animals, but to the other person looking at you, it's all about your health. Right. And most, again, it's very politically incorrect, but most people look at vegans and like, oh, I will not sign up for this, right? So that's a huge problem, because I think you as a vegan can be way more effective in your vegan activism and in your indirect activism, meaning you don't have to kind of force your opinion onto another person's throat. Which, by the way, there's a time and place for that. I'm not against vegan activism, but I'm just saying that kind of there's this indirect activism that you can do throughout your day
Mhm.
where you walk, where you go your day. And somehow I remember I had this one discussion in the gym. This guy we were talking about was like, hey, what are you doing? So I'm a vegan fitness coach, founder of Fit Vegans. You're vegan? Scans up, down. You're vegan? Again, right? It breaks people's brains. And due to that, kind of like it is first of all, it's a nice feeling when that happens to you, because to most vegans, kind of the opposite happens. Like,
Yeah.
you're vegan, they're like, oh, I kind of knew, right? Which is not funny.
Right.
But it breaks people's brains, and due to that, it feels good for you, and more so, it opens the conversation.
Yeah.
It opens the conversation about veganism and about the virtues of veganism from a standpoint of strength in your side.
Mhm.
So instead of you kind of going there like a weasel, and like, again, there's time and place for vegan activism. But I just want to kind of put the difference there
Yeah.
across. But
Yeah.
people come to you, and it's a way different sentiment. People come to you like you're a position of you're in authority, and they're gonna be way more receptive to your preachings,
Right.
right? So I think if you want to be a vegan for the animals, and the most effective vegan there is, you will inevitably have to be a fit vegan.
Mhm.
There's many of kind of awesome benefits for getting in shape.
Right. Right. Yeah, as well. That was another reason why I wanted to work with you, because, seeing myself on camera, especially not only as a performer, like you were saying earlier about the car, as an actor, I started as an actor and then became a filmmaker and then TV producer and host. So as an actor, when we're training, the training that I had, we refer to our bodies as our instruments. And we need all different kinds of actors, right? Because acting is representing humanity. So but no matter what type of actor you are, what your instrument, let's say, looks like, or what aspect of humanity or human beings it represents, you have to take care of your instrument. So to me, that extends into health, especially having this TV show and platform where I want people to go vegan for the animals. And it's twofold for me, right? I want to be able to perform my best, and I do not perform my best when I'm fat, when I'm not feeling like I look the way I should be. When we started also, I was getting very bloated, like insanely outrageously bloated. And now I walk around, I told you, I feel myself up, feeling myself. So I'm like, my stomach is flat. It's flat. It's flat. So let me show everybody. I'm not going to show you I keep joking that next year I'm going to be walking around naked because my body's going to be so damn beautiful that I'm just going to want to show everybody. But I was getting so insanely bloated. And then when I was on camera, my clothes weren't fitting well. I kept instructing, this is also why I keep showing you guys my body, because I was instructing I was taping myself just from here up, right? So no one would see my bloating and my hips, because it was uncomfortable. And my instrument doesn't perform as well when I'm uncomfortable. And I think that's for everybody, right? Even if you go to a job interview, it's like the inside out and the outside in, right? It's both. It's twofold like that, right?
Absolutely agree, and I like the analogy of the instrument there, because it's absolutely correct, right? Your body fuels you. Your body kind of is the fundament for all the experiences that you have in this life. I'm fortunate, and I've worked kind of hard for this, but unfortunately live a cool life. I've traveled to 37 countries. In a second, I'll be heading back to beautiful Bali. There as well. So yeah, my life is well, and I run two companies, so Fit Vegans and LazyFX, which is an artificial intelligence companies. I don't really talk about this very, very often because it's a very recent project that we're doing there. But the fundament for all of this is my body, right? I could not do these things if it wouldn't be for my own personal health and fitness. So I'm a strong believer that you absolutely have to prioritize your health and fitness if you want to live an exceptional life, right? If you want to not just kind of experience the same 1 year 20 times,
right,
but instead experience kind of 20 individual awesome years, you have to make sure that the fundament is dialed in, and that is your health and fitness.
Right. There's a few things that you brought up that I want to, my social media is like, I try to be a healthy healthy vegan. So I get a timer that turns off my social media. So it turned off Instagram for a second. I completely forgot about that. A few things, like you travel a lot, right? So one of the key elements for me in working with you was that I love going to the gym. I love swimming, which I can't this year because I have to really protect, if you're just joining in, I had breast cancer, so that was one of the reasons I started working with Florian. So I had radiation treatment, so I've got to protect, right, the skin at least there, and then my whole body from the sun. Um, and so I love the fact that I can just get up and do my workout, right? So that's something that you can, when people come, go to the link in the bio here, or the link that we're connecting to do a free consultation with you. They can talk about their needs and their challenges and their goals with you, to shape the program like you did for me. But I love that. And I brought that up also because people always say it's hard to be vegan because it's hard to be vegan because. So it's hard to be vegan because I travel a lot. It's hard to be a fit vegan because I travel a lot. So that you do this, that you travel extensively, probably more than the average person, and more than the most well-traveled person. You're a testament to the fact that not only can you be vegan, but you can be a healthy, fit vegan, even if you travel.
I agree. And I like the kind of comparison that you brought up there with going vegan versus becoming a fit vegan, right? I like working with vegans, and that's one of the kind of main reasons. It's like next to that, kind of because we agree on fundamental values, I naturally like fellow vegans. The second thing is because I understand that vegans have already significantly changed their life, right? Most of us vegans, we on some point in our time, like a few years ago, maybe it's a few weeks or even a few months ago, for you decades, for you watching this, you've made a decision a few kind of time ago to significantly change your lifestyle and your habits. And for most of us, kind of me included, before making that decision to go vegan, I would have not thought in a million years that I would go vegan, right? I thought vegans were hippies. I thought this was not for me. I thought kind of a circle of life and all kinds of kind of quote unquote bullshit excuses that we kind of serve ourselves, that we kind of use kind of as our story to preserve the status quo. And the same thing happens when you're looking to become a fit vegan. The first and foremost thing, and kind of Lucia mentioned there that I'm a gentle coach. The reason kind of is twofold. The first reason is usually kind of when you're looking to change yourself, it's almost like a lobster. A lobster at one point, when a lobster is in the growth change, lobster needs to get rid of his shell because the lobster needs to build a new kind of exoskeleton, which is the shell, because it's growing, right? And in that time, when the lobster is kind of shedding off its shell, it's especially vulnerable, right? And usually people come to me that are in a growth phase, right? They want more out of life, and they're without the shell, right? They already made that decision to some degree to say like, hey, if I want to have different results, I need to do different things. And for me to do things differently, I need to think different. And that is the hard part about this all, right? The thinking different part, because that is usually the fundament for different results. And that is the painful part, not kind of waking up or kind of doing 2 or 3 exercises per week or making sure that you kind of fuel yourself with good food. It's the changing of one's mindset, right? Same as kind of the hard part of going vegan. It's not kind of turning around food to see like, oh, do they have like some whey powder in there? It's kind of understanding like it's actually worth it. This is very, very important. And I'm going to do this no matter what. Right. The same mindset needs to be in place when you become a fit vegan there as well. So the hard part is the thinking, right? Is changing the thinking. That's why I'm a gentle coach, because people usually come to me when they're in a very vulnerable state, and the last thing they need to hear, they need to have direct truth, right? To change their life, but they don't need yelling. They don't need a boot camp. They don't need a drill sergeant. And the second thing, what I've noticed, especially because we're working with high achievers, and Lucia, you're certainly a high achiever, right? And I know this is as well, kind of we are our own worst critic. Kind of we achieve this, and our expectations are this, right? And like I told you before, like traveled to 37 countries. One side of my brain is like, should have been 90, right? You work 300 vegans, one other side of my brain tells me, at least 1,000, man. Right? You're not performing as good as you should. Looking in the mirror, have a six pack, should have been an eight pack, right? So it's we have those high expectations on ourselves. So often, kind of what we think like we need a go hard coach, but what we truly need is like a person who say, hey, look, Lucia, calm down. You're going in the right direction, right? Look back. Don't always look forward on the next month to climb, but also look that you've kind of climbed 37 mountains in the last few years. So something you should be grateful for.
Right? But, you know, this is another thing is that there was a week where I got really busy, like just recently, and I wasn't not that I wasn't fully committed to the program, to what we're doing, but I realized, again, if you're just tuning in, Florian and I have been working together for like 6 months now, and it's been incredible. But for this 1 week, I just, sometimes when you just kind of like, you kind of like, I guess, lose your regular organization. I'm very organized, right? I'm a TV producer. I've got to be. I can't be like, so, I'm very organized. And for this 1 week, there was so much going on that I wasn't doing our usual, the usual things that we do in the program to make sure that I'm keeping on track and learning and knowing what I'm doing and being aware. And I realized how much, this program working with you really means to me, because knowing what I'm consuming, right? As a vegan and being vegan for so long, I never got on a scale because I was like, the numbers don't count. And in a way, they kind of don't, right? You can address that in a second. The numbers don't count. My main thing is protein, right? Because they always ask you. I'm like, you don't care about my vitamin D. You don't care about the animals. You don't care about what you're eating, right? That's always the thing. People are always concerned about what a vegan is eating and their health, but not their own. But it goes to what you were saying, that people need to be convinced to go vegan, and we are the examples for them. But I learned so much working with you in these past 6 months that, it's such a beautiful, like, wonderful discovery, is like that a packet of pasta lasts so long. Right? Usually the packet of pasta to me used to like be one meal or 2 meals. Now I'm like, oh my God, it's like 5 or 6 meals. Like the packet lasts so long. But even having these things, like the other day you said to me, I had formed this habit. I had formed a little addiction. I got addicted to my air popped organic popcorn. And I also want to talk about the sensual eating thing, what I call sensual eating, because you make very good points about boredom and filling time and all that stuff about eating, overeating, and eating the right things versus, let's say, the wrong things. But not relearning, but being a vegan is one thing. We said at the beginning of this for people who are tuning in now, but being a healthy vegan is kind of learning it in a different way. So I'm learning a lot, even about protein, things about protein. So I was just like, okay, I just need to get protein. I just need to get protein. I just need to get protein, right? That was my healthy vegan conditioned thought in my head, right? All of these decades of being vegan. But now it's shifted for me, right? My knowledge is different. But also, you brought up that change is painful. And I know it's like that for a lot of people, but I love learning and I love challenges. So, weighing my food and having my measuring spoon, it's all so exciting to me, especially when you see the transformation, right? The outward physical and the inner health transformation is just, I never find it painful to work out. I have this weird way of thinking. I'm like, not like, oh, now I have to do my crunches. I'm like, oh, now I get to lie down. Now I get to lie down and do my crunches. But also like results thinking, right? If I'm doing my squats, I'm like, oh, I'm learning about my body. Which side of my body is stronger? Oh my God, it's going to get stronger now. This side is unbalanced, so the alignment, like all of this, because I'm a nerd as well, like you, all of this is.
Agree.
But I think nerds are cool. So nerd to me is a compliment. So I'm complimenting myself by being a nerd. And certainly you were highly read, highly intelligent. Um, it's all exciting to me, learning new things and shifting and changing. Right. So, sorry, I know I spoke a lot. I brought up a lot of topics. So one was the shifting of habits, and the other one was filling a void with eating. Instead of you had a recent short video that you talked about, filling a void or being bored. And one thing you brought up was sex. So this is when I told you, right, people do emotional eating. I don't eat my stress. Maybe in a way I do, but I call it sensual eating because, I'm a very tactile person, and sensual in the sense that I'm very sensitive to sounds and smells and tastes and the way things feel. So I'll reveal this to all of you. If I'm not having a lot of sex or as much sex as I want, I replace that with other sensual things like eating air popped organic popcorn. Right? It feels so nice in my hand. The texture is nice in my mouth. It's like, so not to be vulgar, but to launch this point of you addressing reasons why people are not eating well.
So there's kind of a variety of different. By the way, I like kind of what you said there, and I think it's certainly correct there that kind of eating is a coping mechanism. I think a few kind of listeners have listened to our right. There's some portion control going on. There's some weight thing going on as well. I want to stress here that usually what is holding you back from becoming a fit vegan is not necessarily the tactics and the techniques. Right. If it would have just been the tactics and techniques, kind of every person would have been in wonderful shape because there's Google, right? It's easy to find out. 98% of the information I recently started Googling something which I had some knowledge about, right? I started Googling it and I thought this is all bullshit, right? Because everyone can put up a blog post and that is simply not correct, right? So same thing with health and fitness as well, but it's not as hard to stumble upon the tactics and the techniques, right? For example, you can lose weight doing keto. You probably shouldn't, right? Because I recently started working with a client. She lost 100 pounds. She started losing weight before she went to the doctor. She was 100 pounds overweight. Doctor told her, you have to lose your weight right now, otherwise you're going to die, right? And strong motivation if a doctor tells you that. She lost 100 pounds. She went to the same doctor. Doctor told her, you have to go whole food plant-based because the last 100 pounds did absolutely nothing to your blood values, right? So normally if you just lose 5% of your body weight due to kind of weight loss related kind of intervention that you're doing, your blood values significantly improve. But keto is one of these things, when you do it, your blood values seem to worsen or stay the same, right? So there is a kind of tactics and techniques that matter. Usually that's what people obsess over. But what they truly should be focusing on is kind of changing one's mindset about the change that you're going to do, kind of finding reasons, also changing kind of Tony Robbins said, kind of changing the stories that one tells kind of oneself, right? About kind of one's given situation, right? Often the story is like, yeah, Florian, you're in shape, but you're not really enjoying life, do you? Right? So then you should ask yourself, are you kind of living to eat? Are you eating to live? There's a big difference between those two things. It's like a heroin addict, there's a difference between a person that kind of likes to eat good food and all. I like to eat good food as well. But imagine a heroin addict pointing the finger at you and say, like, you're not really enjoying yourself because you're not shooting up heroin. right? So usually people that are not using heroin are kind of enjoying themselves a bit more, right, than people that are using heroin. So it's a far-fetched example, but the same thing goes true, right? Eating comfort foods constantly, when it came to the point when it's a problem for you, and it could be a problem for you because you're on a podcast like this, 49 minutes in, or maybe just joined a few minutes ago, but you joining a podcast, maybe you love Lucia, or maybe you love me or my face, but the chances are high that there is an issue there. There is a challenge, right? And usually when there's a challenge, when there's an issue, it's a key indication that the behaviors that you were doing or there's a law of cause and effect. The behaviors that you were doing in the past were getting you to the current situation you're in, right? Now you need to change your behaviors, but to change the behaviors in the first place, you need to change the thinking, and that is the hard part, right? So I was talking about this before with the eating as a coping mechanism. Let's say we feel frustrated, we eat our frustration. We feel bored, we eat our boredom. Right? We had a really bad day at work. We need to have we need to get a hit from our food. And one of the ways to change that is to get natural is to improve your coping mechanisms in your life, right? First of all, you should. It's a combination of two things you should be doing. You should change your coping mechanism, meaning you should make your overall life better, so that kind of food doesn't need to be a coping mechanism for the life, because kind of food just masks the underlying problem. Right? It's not the solution to the problem. So, for example, if you have, if you notice that kind of every evening you come home and the job has been stressing you out too much, it's probably worth, instead of kind of stuffing your face with food, to talk with the boss and see like, hey, look, can you improve the job, right? Or maybe it's like, hey, look, it's probably a new job that I need to find, taking that responsibility. But before you can do that, you need to change the stories that you tell yourself, right? And that is the thing is like, for example, a common story it usually masks the fear that we're all feeling from changing our lives, right? The stories that we feel is usually, you can imagine the stories that we have almost like a warm cocoon that we build around ourselves. Kind of the good thing about the cocoon is that it feels comfortable and fuzzy, right? The bad thing about the cocoon is usually it is thing that keeps us stuck. Right? It's a thing that keeps us at our current level. Or in the past, in the beginning of this podcast, I've been talking about the lobster shell. Right? It keeps us exactly where we're at. So for you to get to that next level, you have to get rid of that cocoon with a damn machete. Right? You have to get rid of the lobster shell right now, be vulnerable, and get to that next level. Right? That is the important things. You have to change the stories that you tell yourself. And what brought this top of mind is right now I'm reading the book by Alan Carr, which is How to Stop Smoking the Easy Way, right? And I don't have a smoking problem, but Alan Carr is fantastic in a way that apparently he seemed to change the lives of 50 million smokers. And a lot of the things can be applied to health and fitness, because the big part about the book is that when you stop smoking, you're not giving anything up, right? Smoking is not filling a void. Smoking is creating the void. Same as like eating a lot of junk food is kind of creating a void. It's not filling a void. Right. So there's a difference between those things, and there's a difference between kind of smoking and junk food. They're not the same thing, but the same principles overlap. And often kind of we have a problem kind of as vegans, because there are a lot of tasty junk food out there. But I'm a strong believer that there's a difference between junk food and real food. Like real food is not decreasing your lifespan. Right? Real food is making you feel energetic and kind of gets you closer towards your health and fitness goals. Right? Junk food is the thing that makes you addicted. That makes you that creates that void that needs to be filled every single evening when you can like, want to have something comfortable. Right? There's a difference between those two things. So I'm going on a tangent there as well, because I can talk about this from a variety of different perspectives, and I hope kind of the stories and kind of what we tell ourselves to keep ourselves to keep ourselves happy, but also in the status quo, is usually kind of the key thing that needs to be changed before one can actually start significantly improving one's life.
Well, we have just a few minutes left, and I want to see if there are any questions that have come up in the chat. But I wanted to say that with one, I always forget that I'm a former smoker. I smoked from when I was 12 years old till maybe I think I quit. See, I didn't want it to mark my life, so I don't have an anniversary Like I quit smoking, 7 years ago today. I think I quit, oh God, I think I quit in like 2013. And I had quit several times, right? They say that it takes some jump starts. But the thing that, as an ethical vegan, the thing that got me to finally quit was that I found out that they were testing on animals. So I was like, you cannot consciously, even if you're destroying your own health and body, you cannot consciously continue to do something that harms other, our fellow sentient beings. But what I did then was I was like, I wanted to flush it out. So I was walking around with one of those, 2-liter bottles of water. And whenever I wanted to smoke a cigarette, I was like, all right, first of all, you're going to breathe, right? And 2, just down this water, down as much of this water as you can, because it will help flush out the toxins and it'll be replacing it with a healthy habit. But I brought that up as well because I keep forgetting that I was a smoker. So my sensual popcorn habit, right, that was a way for me to, it's weird, for me to relax at the end of a long day where I was super productive, but not feel like I was being lazy. So while I'm relaxing and doing something, let's say sensual, I'm still being active. It's crazy. But what you said to me was, and we can end with this unless you want to speak to it. What you said to me was, we crave what we eat. Is that what you said to me? I'm paraphrasing. And I thought, okay, yeah. So you have to shift what you're eating so that you will crave. And this is something that I've learned as a vegan, right? Telling people you're not craving a steak, you're craving protein. So when I crave protein, I don't crave animal flesh. I crave tofu, or because that's what I've been eating. So I was like, oh my God, I already knew this, but Florian helped me learn it on a different level. So it really makes all the difference.
Cool. Awesome. And the same thing is like, not only do you crave what you eat, you also can identify as what you do, right? Meaning that some people might watch this right now. It's like, there's no way I could be a fit vegan because I'm not the type to exercise, right? Of course, you're not the type to exercise because you're not exercising, right? Or I'm not the type to eat healthy. Of course, you're not the type or the person to eat healthy because you're not eating healthy, right? Our brain is almost like, you can imagine this as a third person who's looking over you, kind of sees like, what is kind of Florian doing right now? Like an eye that you have on top. It's like, what is Florian doing right now? And then your brain creates a story of who you are based on the behaviors that you do, right? We know this all too well. Let's say we change job. In the past, we've been a lawyer. Right now, we've been an entrepreneur, right? How do we identify as? I'm a lawyer. I have a different behavior right now. What do you identify with? I am an entrepreneur. Because your brain looks at the kind of behaviors that you're doing and then says like, all right, it seems like you're actually an entrepreneur, right? So it's important thing to keep top of mind is that, I was not born fit. I was not born vegan, but because I changed the behaviors, which then turned into a habit, which then turned into a new identity, kind of helped solidify the new identity, which kind of Lucia has solidified in the last 6 months there as well, which is that of a fit vegan. That is kind of the end goal that we have here.
Let me show them again. I love it. I can't wait to walk around naked next year. You can see it already, right? So I love it. I love it. So Florian, thank you so much. Let's see if there are any questions for us really quickly. Oh, someone says you look incredible. Thank you. And namaste. Namaste. Okay, this is great. Oh, thank you. Okay, so no questions for us. Thank you all for tuning in. And if you're on Instagram, the link in my bio you can click on it. I think it says LVL Fit Vegan or something, but I think it says it says Fit Vegan. So you can go to the link in my bio on Instagram and click on that to have a free consultation with Florian. Amazing. And if you're on other platforms, I will put the link in the description of this saved video. And if you do not find it, go to the previous posts where I had a little promo video inviting you to join Florian and me on Sundays. So you can go to the link is definitely there. But Florian, can you tell them what the link is in case they're not finding it?
Yeah, of course. So the best way kind of to get in touch with me is to just go over to fitvegans.com/schedule. Or fitvegans.com, there are multiple buttons for you to schedule a call. If you do, kind of please let us know that you come from Lucia, so we kind of can spread the love there as well. So we know where you're coming from, and we can kind of embrace you with a warm hug. So this is a completely free 15-minute call with either me or my kind of awesome executive coach. His name is Jack. You can see that on the page there as well. In that free call, we can look over your unique situation. We can give you some awesome advice. And then if it makes sense and you're a wonderful fit for what we're doing, because we only like to work with people which we know that we can help, we'll invite you to another call where we can talk all about the coaching, right? This is a completely free 15-minute call, no strings attached, right? Non-salesy, where we get to know your unique situation. We can give you a very kind of an expert overview over your situation, and then we can only then talk about the coaching and see if that makes sense in the first place, right? Because we only want to work with people that we can actually help. And as far as we know, kind of let's say kind of the other doctors are vegan doctors or like vegan professionals are awesome, but they're usually not doing kind of like that free look at your situation. So take advantage of this. We have a limited amount of spots left in our calendar because it's only me and Jack, and I'm kind of having a quick vacation next week. So kind of first come, first serve. Head over to the link, book your free call, and then let's rock and roll and get you into your awesome fit vegan shape quickly and sustainably.
Thanks again, Florian, so much. And I'm excited to see who signs on with you so that they can become fit vegans. We will see you next week, Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. I look forward to it so much.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Oops, everybody's seeing my house now, my messy house while I figure out how to turn this off. I never know how to do this. Okay, and now. All right, share that, and we will end here on the other platforms. Thank you again, everyone, for joining in. And Florian, thank you so much.
Thank you as well.